Oh my god, guys, do you know what's actually interesting and slightly fascinating? I took the SD card out to try and retrieve some data, and all of a sudden things don't want to start connecting. So like, I'm just gonna go and hope for the best, because I can't promise you that this isn't gonna cut out. But you know, we just take chances now. We just go with the flow. Carpe diem, seize the moment. Okay, so top 5 things that we can use as 2020 tools for that 2020 vision. Okay, so the first thing that comes to mind is acceptance.
Acceptance, was that easy for you to accept that now this is happening to me?
I think acceptance is one of those things that it's just a moment. It's not that deep. Like, it's just, okay, this is me now because of this, and then tomorrow you could deal with something really quickly or take a long time. Acceptance is just knowing that this is now, what can we do for the future? And I think it's important, it's really important, because if you're not accepting your reality, then you're a bit deluded.
And I think it was a reminder of the essence of immortality and the fact that we're not going to be here forever. And I think because of technology, we sometimes get so wrapped up in the moment, and the moment lasts for a long time, and we forget that nothing's promised. We might go to bed on that Twitter feed, like fall asleep with the phone on our head and not wake up the next morning, and that's it. And there were so many things we might have held off or just not done because we were distracted by social media and technology and fear of missing out. FOMO, is that what they call it? Anyway, you know what I mean. So
Tumblr, I can't lie to you. Tumblr is so good. Like, I think that social media is really, 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 really good. YouTube and Tumblr, like when you just search something and you got all the answers. Like, people put like essays on there.
Oh wow!
Like, and you see people like sharing their experiences, and you can express yourself. And I know it sounds really weird and digital, like, but it is the day and age we are, and like I'm from this era, so just being able to express myself through creativity. I think the creative community was really, really good as well, because you're allowed to tell your story, even though like there are restrictions in our society when it comes to being an artist or a creative. Like, it's a space that is not really protected or preserved. Like, they cut all the funding, all that kind of stuff, so it's really difficult to express yourself. But when you do, you feel like you've told like a whole story, and you've been relieved. So it's a kind of therapy in a sense.
It made me realise that it's time to clean up shop and think about what I want to take into the next decade, and starting on a new page with a new slate. And I feel like I may have said that before, and I think it's something that's really, really easy to say, but sometimes when you sit in it, you start to feel yourself moving towards the things that you truly believe, because it becomes part of your mindset. And I think I delayed this video on purpose because I wanted to test myself and see how I would do things from the last month of December until the new year. And I did find myself really shifting into my identity, and death and immortality is something that we think happens to people that are older, but it can happen at any time. It's a reminder as well, like what are you here for? What am I here for? What are we here for? Some people don't feel like they're here for anything, but me personally, there are goals that I believe and things that I feel like have been embedded in me deep down in my core. I feel like, you know, I need to manifest. And sometimes, you know, because we're also distracted about things that might have happened in the past and we haven't had any closure, we tend to like ruminate on it and like just go over and lament about, oh, I wish, or not realising that we have the power to give ourselves that closure. We don't actually have to wait on anyone to come back and say, do you know what, you know that time we did that thing to me, I'm sorry, blah blah blah. That's not always going to happen, and sometimes you're not always going to be able to give anyone else, someone you may have offended, closure. So it's really important to kind of just, okay, this happened because of this, and take accountability for the things that, you know, you may have done, or we may have done, I may have done, to cause ourselves to go down a certain path. And because as adults, you know, we can choose, we have autonomy, we have agency, we have free will. So there are things that we don't actually have to let happen, but if we do let them happen, we have to look back at that and think, what was I going through that made me literally put up with that, or put up with them, or make myself feel like I need to squeeze myself into a situation where I didn't actually belong. So accepting that things have happened, the past is the past, and you can't actually change that, but you do have the power to change your future and to mold and just manifest the vision that you see for yourself.
You need to look after yourself.
you reap what you sow. And it's not always about revenge or doing bad things. It's literally, if you've invested in something, if you have put your time and energy in something, if you think about going to a cash machine with your card and knowing that you haven't saved any money and there's no money coming in, you haven't worked, you haven't saved, there's nothing, and you're hoping to get a couple grand out, what are you talking about? It doesn't work like that. And that's the same in relationships, in work, in career, in projects, in anything. If you haven't done the work, what do you think is going to happen? Nothing's going to happen because you haven't done anything. And I understand that procrastination is a killer, you know, and there's so many different factors that can disturb us and cause us to come off balance and not fulfill the things we set out to do. And even fear, anxiety, so many mental health difficulties, emotional health, spiritual health, that might take us off the path. And sometimes we tend to do public service announcements like, I'm going to do this. I've done that so many times. I'm going to do this year, and this is what I'm going to do. And it's just like, invest, save, work in silence, and then the grand reveal.
The capital B, I don't need no hype. The capital B mean about that life. The capital B mean I'm about that life.
I hope I'm not talking too fast, because my dad always says, slow down. I'm just like, my train of thought is so fast, and sometimes I try to make myself like match up, and it's not the same. I have to literally slow down, calm down, and just try and get out, in the right speed so that people can hear me. I'm just so like excited. Anyway, acceptance, karma, balance is a third thing. I really believe that like life is about finding that equilibrium between, sometimes they can be opposites, but sometimes they're just complementary. It's like yin and yang, and like some people might say good or bad if you use those kind of terminologies, or just like feminine, masculine, or anything. Just like realizing that, or even lowbrow culture and highbrow culture, whether it's reality TV or documentaries and research, like having actually a balance and not criticizing yourself too much about the things you do take in, but actually just being conscious of them and thinking, how is this going to benefit me? Why am I doing this? And just being aware of the choices you make and your actions, and just thinking to yourself, how will this benefit me in the long run? Short-term fulfillment, short-term gains, they're not always beneficial in the long run, but sometimes with the short terms, it's like that, that happy energy that comes, you just want to get through something and just do it in the moment. But I think having a balance is really good. Even sometimes like having junk food and then having healthy food. Like for instance, you might say you're a vegan, and when no one's looking, you're struggling, because when your mum cooks that meat, listen, when I'm at mine, my diet is on point. As soon as I go back to my mum's house, the home of birth and the first foods I had, listen, the pound of jam is getting swallowed. That's why it's called swallow. Bitter leaf soup, unubu, obono. I'm having that. Yam pottage. I'm having all these things. I'm having jollof rice more than I would here, because I actually hate jollof rice. Fried rice is actually my thing. Or I'm going to put my hand up and say, like, I understand. It's difficult sometimes to find that balance. This morning, I had to go for a run. Why? Because I can't carry the weight that I put on. And some people might say, slim privilege, skinny privilege. Yeah, I understand that, but it doesn't mean I don't get to voice my opinion and voice my woes about things that I feel like I'm struggling with. And I've put a bunch of weight on, and you can't really tell from here, but my belly, my nyash, oh Jesus of Nazareth, take control. Listen, the trousers that I had lined up on my rail, who fits into them? Because it's not me, literally. So I went for a jog this morning to try and like get myself together, because my knees literally feel like collapsing, my bones feel brittle. So when your body's saying to you, knock, making noises, and you're just feeling uncomfortable, that's usually the wake-up call, like, get it together. What happens in the spiritual will manifest in the psyche, will manifest in the emotions, will manifest in the physical. So it all comes together, and that's all about balance, making sure that you're in tune with yourself and you're listening to what your body's saying, what your mind is saying, what your spirit is saying, and and being comfortable with actually being feminine sometimes and masculine sometimes, because we come as a package like that. We're not just one thing. It doesn't actually work like that. We come on a spectrum. So it's about embracing your own identity and not feeling you have to go too far on one end because you want to prove a point, or because you're scared of going for one other, and that's when it goes towards toxicity. So coming to the middle, or finding a home ground for yourself, or a safe space that makes sense to you, that doesn't harm anyone else and feels progressive, safe and sound for you, and you'll know when it feels right because you'll feel right. What are you talking about? Guided interpretation? Okay, this is what I mean. Do you find often that people don't seem to understand who you are, what you're doing? Are you having trouble expressing yourself or putting yourself on the right path? I don't blame you. It can be difficult sometimes. I've been there before. We've all been there before. Well, we think we're on the right path. When we sit down and think to ourselves, what am I actually doing with my life? Who am I? What am I trying to do? And what am I trying to say? Sometimes we have to take a step back, look at the gifts we've been given, and think about the experiences we've had and what things we've learned. And even the things that people say that we're best at, or the things that people tend to call you for. Can you help me with this? You're so good at this. I think you're the best at that. Think about those things. Think about those things, because people are coming to you for a reason. They're coming to you for your service. And your service is love. And that is your gift. How do you express your love? What is your love language? Oftentimes through life, we end up stuck in a rut because we don't know where we're going or what we're doing, or how to truly portray or display or showcase our gifts and talents, and how to find the path we feel best suits the gifts, skills and talents that we've been given. So we have to find ways to create safe spaces for us to develop those skills, so that you can express yourself and hone in those skills, so that when people call you for whatever service you provide, you'll be ready and prepared because you've had the space to do so. Solitude. I've said this before in 5 tips for, I think it was 7 tips for preservation, and solitude is actually really important. Like, sometimes you can get so carried away in the moment in different spaces. Well, I have done this before, and I've found myself thinking that because I'm being friendly with people and holding up friendships or relationships, that there is actually a relationship there when it's actually one-sided. And that also goes in terms of balance as well, and karma. If I'm putting something in and I'm not actually getting that return, there's no balance. So sometimes you just have to step back because there's someone behind there duping me, you know, and accepting also. So it all goes back to each other, accepting that happened, these things happen. Sometimes we miss the mark, sometimes we don't see, sometimes we have to go back to that lesson and be like a setback, and be that cringy person that's like 20 something or in their 30s or 40s doing the lesson that most 15-year-olds be like, yeah, but that's just the way it is. Sometimes we miss the mark, and that's okay. Yeah, so what was that again? What was I talking about? Solitude, being okay on your own. I'm not talking about being lonely, I'm talking about alone time, and enough of it, a lot of it. And can you really sit on your own for about a year? Like, obviously human beings need to be social because that's our nature, but can you manage yourself, your time? Are you happy with yourself alone? Can you be at home on your ones? Can you go places on your ones, restaurants? Can you date yourself? Can you love yourself? Can you be with yourself? Would you marry yourself, kind of thing, if you want marriage, because not everybody does? Would you want yourself as a child? Would you want yourself as a sister? Like, that solitude gives you enough time to really think about, how am I as a person? Am I like trash? Am I actually trash? So yeah, solitude is very important because you get to reflect, you get to see who's for me, who's for what I'm for, and who is really just an enemy in the camp. You know, these things happen. That's life, human beings, that's our nature. And yeah, just being aware of yourself and being cool with yourself and just being like, it's all good. I love this hair. Oh my gosh. Anyway, even through the simple things like grooming. Yes, grooming. I know some people think it's materialistic, but come on. How do you expect people to take you seriously if you haven't packaged yourself in a way that best represents you, your character, the quirks and the funny, intelligent and wise and loving parts of your character? Back to the point. Last point. Time. And it's funny because obviously the decade has passed, it's on my time, Gregorian calendar, blah blah blah. Anyway, time. So like, yeah, new decade, 2020 vision, blah blah blah, not blah blah, because it's actually serious. Alright, calm down, but listen, what I'm saying is, time is of the essence. It doesn't last forever. Immortality. Obviously, time is an entrapment in itself sometimes, because it's like the concept of the clock and time is actually a way to keep us organised in a way for a certain person's or people's establishments, benefits, whatever. Anyway, but also we can be aware of the time that we have and know that, okay, we can plan, we can organise ourselves, and we can make sure that the things we want to do, we can accomplish. So I'm probably talking too fast for mother and dad's likings, but that is what it is, because I don't have time, and I don't want this video to be longer than 9 minutes. But okay, respecting time, doing things when you have the time, making time, organise yourself, being consistent, being dedicated, it all just goes in together. So let's say the top 5 once again, just to round up, because we don't have time, and we don't even know if we've really got time, because today could be my last day. Bad joke. I've got dark humour. Okay, cool. Next. So acceptance, karma, balance, solitude, and time. And that's the end of my video, to be honest, because I don't actually have time, and I've got a few. And how to showcase the true story, the meaning, and the skills that you have to offer. You want to express that. So you have to package yourself as a gift. So when you're handing over this gift as a service of love to other people, they'll be able to value it, appreciate it, and call on it whenever it's necessary, and know that that gift is something that they need. And don't forget, you've been given the gift of life, and you've been given the tools and the skills to create. So make it make sense. Okay? And thank you so much for coming along so far. I hope you enjoy the ride. It's gonna be fun. So Ekwu go,